Hi again. Today's video, we're still talking about G.A.02 volume, and our student-friendly objective is that you can find the volume of a right rectangular prism with fractional edge lengths using unit cubes and or the formula. So our objectives today: find the volume of prisms and individual cubes, multiply by whole numbers, and multiply by fractions. I can put this a little bit lower for you guys. Our success criteria is that you're able to read the question. Volume equals base times height. Other thing that we're going to do is we're going to circle the numbers. Next one's box to math vocabulary. Then we can multiply the length, width, and height together. Make sure your volume answer is written in cubic units, and compare volume answer to volume of an individual cube answer. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. Okay, so I found this really nice picture here, and I thought this would be really great to show you how to find volume and how to find the volume of an individual cube. So as you know, our formula for volume is volume equals length times width times height. And the reason why I'm using that is if I look at my picture, I see a 4 here, a 4 here, and a 4 here. So that tells me that gives me a length, a width, and a height. So all I have to do is write 4 times 4 times 4. Next, I'm going to figure out 4 times 4. And we know that 4 times 4 is 16. So I'm going to bring down the part I didn't use. What 16 times 4 is. So over here, I have room to write on. So I'm going to write 16 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. I'm going to carry my 2. 4 times 1 is 4. 2 more, 5, 6. So it equals 64. So I now know that 16 times 4 is 64. And since there's no measurements here, we can call it units. And it is volume, so I need to write a little 3 right here. That stands for cubes. Now, how do I find the individual cube? So since this is the volume formula, I want the individual cube. Well, it's really easy. 64 answer we got. Well, if we flip it over, we can actually just, well, how do I say this? Just put a 1 on top and put the 64 on the bottom. And it's units cubed. So one little piece here is 1/64th of this whole piece, and that's what it means. Kind of pretty simple, isn't it? Okay, let's go look at another one. Okay, now we have, looks like a rectangular prism here, but look, we don't have whole numbers, we have fractions. So what we do here is you're doing the same thing. We're going to use our volume formula. Volume equals length times width times height. And let's just put our numbers in for it. Okay, so it looks like my length is 4/3. My width is 1/3. And my height. So now all you got to do is multiply straight across. So if we do this, I know that, put a little arrow here. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So I'm going to write my 12 here. And 3 times 3 times 3 is 3. And you know that 12/3 actually equals 4. So 4 times 3 is 12. And since there's no measurements, I'm going to write units cubed. All right? Now you're going to say, well, how much is one little piece? The individual cube. Okay, well, let's take a look at this. This says 4/3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. So that's 1/3, a 1/3, a 1/3, and a 1/3. Over here, you can see 1/3 going this way and going up is 3/3. So this is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So if you think about it, that one little cube is going to be 1/3 by 1/3 by 1/3. So the volume for that one, length times width times height, is going to be 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. So my volume equals, and go straight across, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And at the bottom, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So the individual cube is 1/27th cubed. And that's how we find the individual cube. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here. So to circle anything or box anything, and we did multiply the length, the width, and the height together, and we did make sure that our volume was written in cubic units, and we compared the volume answer to the volume of an individual cube. Okay, the last problem that we have here tonight. Let's see if I can get that all the way across. There we go. Says, what is the volume of the rectangular prism when the area of the base is 1/4 and the height is 1/5? Well, if I take a, I'm going to follow my success criteria. So I did read it, and I need to identify, which volume formula should I use? So before, we have been using volume equals length times width times height. So can I still use that here? Well, let me go box in the math vocabulary. Let's see what I have. So I have volume. I have rectangular prism. I have the word area. Okay, I have the word base and height. Okay, I'm going to circle my numbers. I have 1/4 and 1/5. So I'm following my success criteria. So if I take a look at this, let me write the two volume formulas. There's volume equals length times width times height. And then there's the other formula, volume equals base times height. So if I look at this, I don't see a length or a width, but I see a height. So the base is here. Did you know that the base is a length? So instead of using this formula, I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to write volume equals base times height. And just rewrite it. The base is 1/4 times the height is 1/5. So now I just multiply across. 1 times 1. Let's see if I can get this higher. You all see that? 1 times 1 is 1. And 4 times 5 is 20. So there's my answer. And I'm looking. No, so I will write units cubed. And that's how I find my answer. So I read the question, I identify and use the volume formula. So this time around, I used volume equals base times height. Please remember that base just means the length and the width together. I did circle the numbers. I did box the math vocabulary in. Length, the width, and the height together because the length and the width this time was actually the base together, right? And we did make sure that our volume answer is written in cubic units. And let's see, and we don't have to do individual cubes for this because we did it with the other two up above. All right, I hope that will help you today as you work on your problems.